Hollywood's toughest working-class hero stepped onto the set of The View expecting a simple interview. But what Mark Wahlberg walked into quickly spiraled into one of the most intense live moments in daytime TV history. He arrived ready to promote his new movie, unaware that what waited for him was less an interview and more an ambush. If viewers thought they'd seen celebrity meltdowns before, they were wrong. This clash between Mark and Joy Behar wasn't just fiery. It was an all-out battle about pride, past mistakes, and the meaning of authenticity, all under the unforgiving gaze of millions. Asterisk. The cameras rolled as the studio audience erupted in applause while Mark walked on stage. His confident Boston swagger dampened slightly by the thick tension in the room. Dressed in a navy suit and wearing an easy smile, he shook hands with the co-hosts before settling into the guest chair. He greeted Whoopi and Sunny warmly, but when his gaze landed on Joy Behar, her grin already carried a sharper edge. "Welcome back to The View," Joy began, leaning into her microphone with a glint in her eye. "We're joined by actor and producer Mark Wahlberg, here to promote his latest film." The faint pause before latest film didn't go unnoticed. Mark kept his smile polite. "Thanks, Joy. Always a pleasure to be here." Asterisk. Joy's head tilted, her lips curling. "Oh, I bet it is," she said, her voice dripping with sarcasm. "You've had quite a career, Mark. Would you call yourself an accomplished actor?" The audience chuckled nervously. Mark blinked, caught off guard but refusing to flinch. "I've been fortunate," he said evenly. "I've worked hard, and I'm proud of the projects I've been part of." Asterisk. Joy let out a loud, dismissive laugh. "Hard work, just playing the same tough guy from Boston in every movie." Because honestly, if you've seen one Mark Wahlberg performance, you've seen them all. A heavy silence filled the studio. Mark's jaw tightened, but he stayed composed, folding his hands calmly. "Well, Joy, I'd argue each character has depth if you're paying attention." Asterisk. "Oh, I pay attention," Joy shot back. "I just haven't seen any depth. Your characters are angry cops, angry soldiers, or angry boxers. At some point, you've got to admit you're just playing yourself." Whoopi shifted uncomfortably, attempting to interject. But Joy waved her off. Asterisk. Mark straightened and met Joy's stare head-on. "You're entitled to your opinion," he said, voice controlled but firm. "But the millions of people who watch my films and find something relatable in them might disagree." Asterisk. "Ah, yes, the relatable everyman," Joy sneered, complete with air quotes. "Only this everyman owns mansions in Beverly Hills and wears $1,000 suits. Real relatable." Mark chuckled softly, though irritation flickered in his eyes. "I haven't forgotten where I came from, Joy. You can be successful and still stay true to your roots." Asterisk. Joy's expression hardened. "Oh, please. You're as Hollywood as they come. You make millions pretending to struggle while real people out there actually do. You don't speak for working-class people. You left that behind years ago." The room went still once again. Mark took a deep breath, his Boston accent cutting through slightly as he answered. "That's a hell of an assumption. Joy, you don't know me, and you sure as hell don't know where I came from." Asterisk. Joy leaned back with a smug fold of her arms. "Maybe not," she said. "But I know what I see: a man who cashed in his street cred for a paycheck and forgot what it means to fight for something." Asterisk. Mark's fists tightened under the table, though his face stayed neutral. "You've got a lot to say about me, Joy," he said quietly. "But it sounds like you're talking more about yourself." The audience gasped as Joy's cheeks flushed red. She leaned forward, her voice razor-sharp. "Oh, trust me, Mark, we'll get to me. But right now, we're talking about you, and I'm not done yet." Asterisk. Mark leaned back in his seat, eyes narrowing just enough to show the storm building behind them. "Neither am I," he replied evenly. Asterisk. As the show prepared to cut to commercial, the air vibrated with tension. Everyone in the studio and every viewer at home knew they were on the edge of witnessing something unforgettable. Asterisk, when the lights came back up and the cameras rolled again. Mark sat with his hands clasped, tension flickering along his jawline, while Joy Behar leaned forward with a look that blended defiance and barely concealed glee. Whoopi and the other hosts sat in uneasy silence, their eyes darting between the two like spectators watching a pair of pit bulls circle before a fight. Joy wasted no time. "So Mark," she began, her tone deceptively sweet but dripping venom. "This new movie of yours, let me guess, another angry Boston guy with a chip on his shoulder. Or did you finally branch out and play an angry Boston guy in a different hat?" The audience tittered nervously. Mark offered a faint smile that didn't touch his eyes. "That's cute, Joy," he replied. "But if you'd actually watched the film instead of just reading press notes, you'd know it's about redemption. About a man trying to make things right." Asterisk, redemption, Joy mocked, clapping her hands dramatically. "How fitting, since your entire career has been you trying to redeem yourself for what you did before Hollywood bailed you out." The words cracked through the air like a whip. Mark stiffened, but didn't rise to the bait. "Not yet." "You want to talk about my past?" he said evenly. "Fine. I've made mistakes. I've owned them. I've worked my ass off to make something better." Joy swooped in instantly. "Owned them? Or swept them under the rug while flashing that charming smile for the cameras? Because all I see is the same Mark Wahlberg in a nicer suit." Mark's lips pressed into a tight line. "You really enjoy tearing people down, don't you?" Joy leaned back smugly. "I enjoy calling out hypocrisy. You pretend to be some champion for the little guy, but you're just another millionaire who made his money pretending to care." Asterisk, the audience murmured uncomfortably. Mark tapped the arm of his chair once, then folded his hands again, his voice low and measured. "You don't know me, Joy. You don't know what I do when the cameras aren't rolling. And you sure as hell don't know what I care about." Joy's voice sharpened, her Brooklyn edge flaring. "Oh, but I do. You care about box office numbers. You care about image. You care about staying relevant by playing the same tough guy over and over because you're too scared to take a real risk." Mark let out a cold, humorless laugh. "You know what's funny? You sit here every day preaching kindness and equality and progress. But the moment someone doesn't fit your narrative, you treat them like garbage." That landed hard enough that even Whoopi raised an eyebrow, though Joy didn't flinch. "Better garbage than a fraud," she fired back. Asterisk, Mark leaned in slightly, eyes darkening, though his tone remained controlled. "Is that what you think I am? A fraud? Because I've spent my entire life proving otherwise." Joy slammed her hand on the table. "Please? You think you've worked your whole life playing pretend for millions while real people struggle? You're a Hollywood creation, Mark, nothing more." Mark's fists clenched on the table, knuckles whitening. "Say what you want about me, but don't you dare disrespect the people who've supported me, the same people you talk down to every day." Asterisk, Joy's laugh was sharp and cruel. "Don't flatter yourself. Nobody supports you. They support the idea of you because it's easier than admitting you're just another privileged man who got lucky." The tension growing in the studio was suffocating. Even the cameras seemed to tremble as they zoomed in on Mark's face, his jaw taut, his eyes storm-dark. He leaned forward slightly, speaking with deliberate calm. "You've got a lot of opinions about me, Joy, but the truth is, you don't want anything real. You just want to win." Asterisk, Joy matched his lean, her eyes blazing. "Oh, Mark, you don't get it. I already have." The smug smile she wore was the spark that ignited the powder keg. Mark leaned back, letting the silence hang like a storm cloud, ready to burst. His nostrils flaring as he exhaled slowly, still locked onto her gaze. Whoopi finally intervened, her voice tentative. Maybe we should move on to the movie. But neither Mark nor Joy blinked. Joy smiled sweetly, her eyes burning. "Oh no, we're just getting started." Mark's faint smirk, equal parts incredulous and dangerous, said everything. "You're right," he murmured. "We are." The studio seemed to hold its breath. Even the audience sat frozen in silence, watching the two of them like spectators at a championship fight. Mark adjusted his cufflinks slowly, almost ceremonially, before placing his hands back on the table. His jaw was still tight, but his voice stayed steady when he finally spoke. "You really enjoy this, don't you?" he asked sharply. Joy raised an eyebrow, her smirk deepening. "Enjoy what?" Mark asked, his tone calm but sharp, leaning forward slightly. "Enjoy what nobody else is brave enough to ask." No, he shot back, eyes locking on Joy. "Enjoy humiliating people. You don't care about the truth. You care about your little applause lines. You care about making yourself look clever at someone else's expense." The audience murmured, some in agreement, some in dissent, the tension thick enough to feel in the air. Joy scoffed, waving her hand dismissively. "Please spare me the wounded tough guy act. You're an actor, Mark. You're good at pretending, but you don't scare me." "Good," Mark said, leaning back slightly, his voice low and measured. "Because you don't impress me." The jab landed. Joy's nostrils flared as she straightened in her chair. "You know what your problem is? You've spent so much time being told how great you are, you actually believe it." Mark tilted his head, a faint, controlled smile tugging at his lips. "You know what your problem is? You've spent so much time tearing other people down that you've forgotten how to stand for something yourself." That one clearly cut deep. Joy sat back for a moment, eyes narrowing before leaning in again. "Cute line," she sneered. "But let's talk about what you really stand for. Mediocre movies. Forgettable performances in a career propped up by your abs and your accent." The crowd gasped. Even Whoopi winced. Mark's jaw tightened, but he stayed seated, voice calm. "That's rich, coming from someone whose entire career has been spent sitting here throwing stones at people, actually out there doing something." Joy barked a harsh laugh. "Doing what? Playing make-believe. Pretending to be a hero, while real people like me, actually fight for something." Mark shook his head slowly. "You're confusing fighting for something with fighting everyone." The audience erupted in applause. Some even rose from their seats, clapping. But Joy didn't flinch. She leaned closer, voice dropping into a venomous hiss. "You think that little speech earns you points? Please. Your whole career has been one long Boston street hustle, just polished up for Hollywood." Mark's eyes flickered with the first hint of danger. He set his palms flat on the table, leaning in so close she could see the steel in his gaze. "Say what you want about me," he said quietly, "but don't you dare insult the people I grew up with. You wouldn't last a day where I'm from." Joy smirked, convinced she had the upper hand. "Oh, what are you going to do, Mark? Take me outside. Show me how tough you really are. Maybe throw a punch like the good old days?" Mark exhaled sharply through his nose, shaking his head. "That's the difference between you and me. Joy, you think strength is about shouting the loudest or throwing the first punch. But real strength is keeping your dignity when someone like you tries to take it away." The words hit hard, and even the camera seemed to pause, waiting for her response. Joy's lips curled into a cruel smile. "Oh, Mark, you've already lost your dignity. You're just too arrogant to notice." The silence that followed was deafening. The studio lights hot, the air so thick it felt like a weight pressing on everyone. Mark straightened his tie slowly, his face a mask of calm, though his eyes burned with quiet fury. Then he spoke, low and deliberate. "You know what? You're not worth it." Joy's smile faltered for a split second before snapping back. "Oh, running away now. Typical." But Mark shook his head and stood, the scrape of his chair echoing in the silent studio. "Not running," he said flatly, walking away while still holding his self-respect. The audience gasped, then broke into uneven applause, some cheering him, some not, but all riveted. Joy leaned back, arms crossed, her confident smirk now replaced by a flicker of unease, as if she realized she might have gone too far. Mark paused for a beat, surveying the studio, then looked back at her. "You've shown everyone who you really are," he said simply. "And so have I." With that, he turned toward the wings, the cameras following his deliberate, measured steps. His footsteps echoed across the studio, each stride a statement. Behind him, murmurs and nervous laughter rippled through the audience. Trying to process what they'd just witnessed, Joy sat stiffly, arms crossed, lips pressed into a thin line. Her smirk was gone, replaced by a mix of anger and something like regret. Mark stopped just before the curtain, then slowly turned back to face the audience one last time. The camera zoomed in on his face, calm, but eyes still burning with quiet fire. "I came here today," he said, voice carrying across the hushed crowd, "to talk about my work, to share something I believe in. I was ready for tough questions. I was ready for disagreement." But what Mark wasn't ready for was cruelty disguised as journalism. Joy flinched at the word, though she tried to mask it with a dismissive roll of her eyes. He stepped closer to the center of the stage, ensuring his words reached everyone watching at home. People tune in here expecting honesty, a real conversation. Instead, what they get is someone using their platform to tear people down, to embarrass them, to score cheap points at someone else's expense. The audience erupted, some clapping loudly in support, others too stunned to react, a few even rising to their feet. Mark let the reaction settle before delivering his final words. "You don't have to like me. You don't even have to respect me. But don't ever think that your job gives you the right to treat people like they're beneath you. That's not journalism. That's just bullying with better lighting." Joy's mouth opened as if to respond, but no sound came out. Mark nodded once, almost to himself, then walked the final few steps to the curtain. As he disappeared into the wings, the crowd erupted into full applause, some standing, some shouting his name. Backstage, Mark's publicist and a pair of stunned producers froze. But he brushed past them with nothing more than a polite thank you, his face calm once again. On stage, Joy sat silently, staring at her hands while the other co-hosts exchanged uneasy glances, clearly shaken. Whoopi finally broke the silence with a tentative smile. "Well, we'll be right back after this break," she said. But everyone, both in the studio and at home, knew there was no coming back from what had just happened. Minutes after the cameras stopped rolling, social media exploded. Clips of the confrontation flooded Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok, and hashtags like #MarkVsJoy, #Wahlberg walkout, and #The View meltdown began trending within hours. Fans and critics dissected every word and gesture, picking sides. Some praised Joy for her fearless approach. Others hailed Mark as the embodiment of grace under fire. One thing became clear: public opinion was swinging hard in Mark's favor. Headlines blared across the internet. Mark Wahlberg walks out on The View and wins the room. Joy Behar faces backlash after brutal interview. Former guests and celebrities weighed in, many defending Mark's composure and criticizing Joy's aggressive tactics. Later that evening, Mark posted a brief statement on social media. "It's okay to disagree. It's okay to challenge someone, but it's never okay to humiliate them. Everyone deserves respect, even when you don't see eye to eye. Thank you to everyone who reached out. I'm proud to stand for what I believe in and to walk away when necessary." His post racked up millions of likes within hours. Joy, for her part, remained silent, her silence louder than any defense she could have offered. And so the curtain fell not just on an interview, but on one of the most dramatic, unforgettable moments in daytime television history. The day Mark Wahlberg walked onto The View, kept his cool as long as he could, and then walked out, not defeated, but victorious.